Mr. LaMalfa, would you like to come up and give us your views on high-speed rail, perhaps?
Probably a mystery.
So this is item number 1, SB 22, by Senator LaMalfa in regards to high-speed rail. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the chance to speak on SB 22 once again, and I appreciate the very robust and full-length opportunity to present some months ago here, and so I will try to be much more compact this time. Also, to our chairman of the Select Committee on High-Speed Rail, thank you for your indulgence, and to the chairman of Trans as well for allowing me to sit in on committee on the high-speed rail last month and a half ago. So very interesting topics, got a lot of people's attention around the state. So on SB 22, I still believe that this would save billions of dollars by halting the sale of any additional bonds for the High-Speed Rail Authority. We have agreed to accept amendments to ensure that the bill today functions as it should, because it's basically adjustment of dates from first introduced. As we know, and we're fully vetted on, the several developments on high-speed rail have surfaced, with the authority themselves admitting that the project's cost had tripled from what was originally on the ballot in 2008, from approximately $33 billion for the Anaheim to San Francisco link to $98.5 billion as in the most recent plan, which really contradicts what the authority made while testifying on this bill last year. Secondly, the nonpartisan field poll found that nearly two-thirds of Californians believe the project should be placed on the ballot for reconsideration, and by a 2-to-1 margin they would repeal the project if asked tomorrow on a possible vote. The legislative analyst testified that the authority's new business plan fails to create an actual high-speed system and likely violates California law under Prop 1A. Next, investigative reporters determined the authority has misled the public with job creation claims. The 1 million jobs reported, the authority claimed, are really more like 20,000, with possibly twice that many in spin-off jobs in the region. Finally, the high-speed rail peer review group, created by the legislature as part of Prop 1A and the mission of high-speed rail to advise on the project, and was staffed with transportation experts, has recommended that state funds be withheld due to poor planning and an absence of federal and private funds to augment the bonds in Prop 1A. The peer review group stated the following: "We cannot overemphasize the fact that moving ahead on the high-speed rail project without credible sources of adequate funding, without a definitive business model, without a strategy to maximize the independent utility and value to the state, and without the appropriate management resources, it represents an immense financial risk on the part of the state of California." That, coupled with a lot of rumblings coming out of Washington and efforts legislatively to not only stop funding in the future, but perhaps to even claw back some of the money, as they put it, that has been put aside for the first segment in the valley, shows that there's a lot of non-confidence in the project statewide and at the federal level. So without seeing a dramatic influx of private funding in California's fiscal condition, I don't see how we can let $9.95 billion from our state sources when the feds are trying to pull theirs back and the private money is not stepping forward. So I'm asking this committee to consider today SB 22 and moving it forward. I'm happy to work with the committee on what we need to do to make it a vehicle that works well for everybody. But in comments I'm hearing from fellow legislators on both sides of the aisle, the confidence has really dropped as well. And so it's a bipartisan thought process that maybe more time needs to be allowed before this happens, maybe a pause of a year, or we're going to very soon contemplate actual expenditures on a budget process, and I don't see the confidence this legislature has to do that. So if we could move this vehicle, I think it's befitting with what maybe the mood of the legislature is, and certainly of the public. Lastly, well, I'll save this for the close. If there's anybody that else would like to speak on it, I'll pause at this moment.
Let's see if there is. Is there anyone in support of Mr. LaMalfa's bill who would like to speak at this time? Anyone opposed to the bill? whole section of the room is moving forward. Perhaps you could start to disperse,
I hear
not all
rumbling
sit
behind
together. Mr. Curtin.
Chairman, members, Danny Curtin, California Conference of Carpenters. I am a supporter of Keynesian economics, which is countercyclical investment in general. But I think in particular, investing in infrastructure for the future is a very, very important thing. And I know there's been a lot of opposition to some of the specifics of the plan, and I want to express my opposition to this particular bill, but I would also like the committee to take cognizance of the frustration that has led to this bill. There are a lot of questions to be answered. I think this bill essentially will allow the legislature to avoid responsibility for trying to make the plan work. And I believe there are ways to enhance this plan that are quite dramatic. I've been circulating a letter, not specifically about this bill. I think it's time for the legislature to weigh in on how this plan is supposed to play out. All of the state needs to benefit. We have $13.5 billion to spend on a high-speed rail plan. I don't think there's a guarantee that we'll see a lot of money from the federal government in the near future, but we can do a lot of very, very good work with $13.5 billion. And I'd be happy to discuss it further, perhaps in another bill or even here, but I think investing in urban corridors that have tremendous congestion and at the same time fit into the High-Speed Rail Authority plan, the blended sections that they talk about, would be something that you need to investigate very, very dramatically. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curtin.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Tim Smith, State Chairman for the Rail Conference of the Teamsters, and I'd like to present our side of the issue. We are opposed to this bill. We feel that it is imperative that the state of California get going with this particular project. We think it means a lot of jobs, not only for my people, but for people all the way across the board, organized labor and non-organized labor. If we're to start turning the economy around in this state, we have to start making some investments. I haven't seen the private sector step up in anything. As we all know, there's $2 trillion worth of money in the private sector as we know it, and as I understand it, they're not creating any jobs yet. So I do believe that we need to be progressive. We need to step forward in the state of California and do the right thing and thereby secure the economy. So if you have any further questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. We represent about 350,000 unionized construction workers in the state of California. And I like to associate myself with the previous comments, obviously, and add a couple of my own, which are, this is a project, this is one of the few projects that the state can actually, state lawmakers can use to create jobs in the state. Selling bonds and putting people to work is what's needed right now. And I acknowledge issues, problems, negative press, whatever you want to call it, about the High-Speed Rail Authority and the project. Yes, there are questions out there. We want to keep working towards answering those questions, making this process work and be as transparent as possible. But to completely stop the project from happening and stop moving forward, I think in this economic climate is the wrong thing to do. It's going to be tough, but we need high-speed rail now. We're going to need it in the future. We need the jobs now, and this is an excellent job creating project that I think should continue to move forward. So for those reasons, we oppose.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next.
Mr. Chair, members, Mr. LaMalfa, my name is Mark Kyle with Operating Engineers Local Union Number 3. I'm in agreement with all the previous speakers sitting at the table. I just want to add a couple of comments. The business plan is still accepting comments until January 15th, so it's a work in progress. So there isn't a final business plan yet. There's been a lot of comments, both negative and positive, to the authority, and it's my understanding the authority's been listening and will incorporate a lot of the comments from a number of the folks in this room, as well as many others throughout the community. The authority will be finalizing the EIR-EIS for the initial construction segment at the end of next month, at the end of February. So again, some of the environmental concerns that exist today will hopefully be addressed and not exist in another 45 days. And there's also a discussion, as I'm sure all of you have read in the paper and probably heard through the grapevine, of a possible reorganization, as has been proposed by the governor's office, of the authority. So the fact of the matter is things are moving, they're developing, and we stand in opposition to Mr. LaMalfa's bill. We believe it's premature at best and unnecessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Shane Gussman on behalf of the California Conference of Machinists and the California Teamsters Public Affairs Council, opposed to the bill. Our members of both of these unions hope to be involved in every aspect of this project, from building it to building the trains and then eventually operating them. I don't know, with respect to the jobs numbers, I think we can argue all day long how many jobs this project will create. In our view, it's going to be a lot of them, and we need the jobs. Our members are suffering record unemployment, and this is, one of the things we have going to create some jobs here in the state, particularly in some areas where unemployment is particularly high. So we think this is the wrong time. Whatever criticism you have of the way the thing's been handled so far, it's the wrong time to kill the project. So we urge a no vote on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Gussman.
Mr. Chair, members, Sarah Flox of the California Labor Federation, also in opposition to this bill. At the meeting of the Select Committee on High-Speed Rail, it was said that there are going to be a number of hearings, probably several every month, on the high-speed rail business plan, the funding plan, and the project. There is a process in place. And we oppose this bill because it would stop the project and stop that process of review. We have new leadership at the authority, both the executive director and with new members on the High-Speed Rail Authority board. They've put forth a very realistic, a reasonable, and thorough business plan, and that needs to go through the process before any major decisions are made. Essentially, by moving this bill and stopping the project, we're going to send those billions of dollars back to the federal government, along with all of the jobs that it could create. So we would say that we need to go through this process, look critically at the business plan, and build high-speed rail the right way. Thank you.
Tim Krems, Operating Engineers. I would also associate myself with the other comments, but as a legislature, as a committee, as you know, you're vested with several immense powers, one of them being to review the will of the voters when they pass an initiative. And I think this bill will cut that review short, and I think the legislative timeline here is dictated by a budget, and I think this will cut short your ability to review, maybe craft a compromise and work for a better solution. And I think you're now given basically a 4 or 5 month at best when you're going to pass a timely budget in June, maybe a little longer, we're not sure, but I think this bill will cut that process short. So we're in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Seeing no one, committee members have questions of any of the people commenting, Mr. Lowenthal and then Mr. Gaines.
Thank you. I just want to, I heard that comment. I know that we have 2 new members of the High-Speed Rail Authority, but you mentioned a change in the executive director?
Just Van Arm.
What about?
Just that he's a newer leader of the authority. Not that there's
you.
anyone new. It's Mr. Van Arm.
Thank you.
It's all relative, Senator Lowenthal. As you well know, in a pre-term limited world, you would be newer in this building. In term limits, you're very senior. Mr. Gaines?
So there we go. Yeah, my comment just is that clearly we need to create jobs. I don't have any issue with that. I support infrastructure. But I'm very worried about what's happened with high-speed rail. When we take a look at something that was proposed to the voters at $33 billion, and now we're looking at, I think it's 118 was the last figure I saw. That causes real pause for me, and I think Senator LaMalfa's is a good proposal. I would imagine that it would stop funding, and that would give us an opportunity to reflect on, if we can go down this path in such a way that we can be fiscally responsible, and if we can't, then we ought to figure out a plan B. But I guess I wouldn't want you to think that we shouldn't be working on infrastructure in the state of California. clearly we're using up bonding capacity for the state of California that could be used for roads and bridges and dams and other issues that we need to address here in the state. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may comment just on that for a second.
Certainly, Mr. Curtin.
I think
Briefly.
the task in front of this committee and the legislature as a whole is to try to find a way to take the $13 billion that we've approved and maximize that money with building in areas that will attract private funding. I believe those areas are out there. I believe you will find responses if you look for them. And also building in areas that have local transportation money that will be building their transportation corridors, but can work in conjunction with high-speed rail to fit the needs of both. So you can actually maximize that $13 billion, perhaps double, maybe even triple. And I believe you will see proposals of that nature in the coming months off of some of the conversations that you'll be hearing. I know there's a peer review group report coming in which may help direct that a little bit. So I appreciate your comments, but I think there are options out there. I wouldn't focus on $100 billion yet, but there are things that can be done that could be done now with the money we have.
Anyone else? Just a couple comments, and I'll let Mr. LaMalfa close. We're still hearing this as a subcommittee, and we'll take it up once we get a few more members. I want to thank all the comments, and while I share, and I think this has been expressed both in committee meetings and in the press, my frustration with Mr. LaMalfa, I've drawn a separate conclusion at this point. Senator Lowenthal and I and Senator Simitian have mentioned in the last hearing that Senator Lowenthal and I heard, both chaired, when we heard the draft plan for the business plan and anticipating the final plan coming forward, that we're already trying to schedule subsequent hearings to that for information. So while I share your frustration, I agree with Mr. Curtin. I've had lots of discussions myself personally with both colleagues, the new members of the authority, and with the administration and people who are critical of it, and I'd like to continue to have those conversations. I do think there's an ability to use the resources that we have in a more effective and efficient way to actually remedy near-term needs and still be able to keep consideration for a more robust 30 to 50-year rail plan for California, and I have in the works a bill to that effect. So while I am sympathetic to your frustrations, and I think I've been honest about expressing those, I'm not at the point that I would be supportive of the bill, because I think it would curtail our ability to continue to work on this. Having said that, I think we're right up against it. I think we're at a point in the next few months where we truly have to make some very significant decisions, and to the authority, without being disparaging, I think they clearly have to hear that the legislature's patience is worn out, at least for me, on the way they've proceeded in the presentation and the implementation of their vision, and it's time to really look at that very closely. So won't be supportive today, but if it counts for anything, Senator LaMalfa, I share some of your pain when it comes to the project. Any other comments? We'll let, before you close, we have a quorum, so we'll ask the Secretary to call the roll so that we can actually vote on your bill.
Senators Desaulniers?
Here.
Desaulniers present. Gaines?
Aye.
No.
Present. Sorry.
Gaines present. Harmon? Huff?
Can't wait.
Kehoe? Here. Kehoe present. Lowenthal? Present. Lowenthal present. Pavley? Here. Pavley present. Rubio? Simitian.
Mr. LaMalfa, would you like to close?
I would. Thank you. Again, to go back over some of the previous points here, time for more review. Essentially, this bill's been around, the project's been authorized as the bonds for over 3 years now. And so we can review without spending money. And so I think we're on the precipice here of committing not just $13.5 billion, which would build a small segment somewhere if the federal government is still wedded to the idea of building it in the middle of the valley where the farmers don't want it, the dairies don't want it, the processors don't want it. You have an area that may not even be legal and pass the muster of Prop 1A, and that it be an electrified rail that actually goes somewhere. That said, committing $13.5 billion doesn't build the whole route. We need to see a true plan that's going to build the whole thing if it's going to be built. And I have not heard any arguments yet that have really identified how that's going to happen. We hear we need jobs, or we hear we need to be like China. We hear we need to look forward and not be left behind by Europe. I have not heard anywhere a true plan that's going to make this work. If the Valley doesn't like it and the South Bay area doesn't like it, we're getting down to just a few people that are going to benefit from making money off of it that seem to like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the American way. But we, as stewards of the taxpayer dollars and this bond indebtedness, we have to care what it costs. We're seeing the private sector is not stepping forward because they have no confidence that it'll make money, that it'll work, that at all. And so why would we expend public dollars for something that people in the private sector who have to meet a bottom line, unlike government, why would we put ourselves in that position? So that's why I bring it forward. We're talking about the number of jobs again. I mean, these people tried to represent for a while that there would be 1 million jobs with a straight face. I did a little quick math and I'm going to close. If you took 520 miles and multiplied that by 5,280 feet, that's 2.74 million linear feet. If you lined up 1 million people shoulder to shoulder, they would all be shoulder to shoulder over 520 miles. So I guess the jobs would be that they could take care of polishing their 3-feet segments of rail, and you'd have 1 million jobs. That was for you, Mr. Chairman. So that said, when the real estimates are 4,500 permanent jobs on the rail, we're a heck of a lot farther off from where we even thought we were. So if we have $13.5 billion to spend on some type of infrastructure, let's build a couple of water storage facilities that will turn the jobs back on in the valley and build some more highways that anybody can use at any time with a readily accessible automobile and make a lot more people happy with this. So thank you for hearing me today and for hearing this bill. I would appreciate your aye vote.
Thank you for your comments. Did you come for those numbers while Eddie was shining your shoes downstairs, or? Never mind. Senator Gaines, do you have a motion?
Yeah, if I'd like to make a motion for Senate Bill 22 with amendments.
Thank you. There's a motion on the bill. Is there any other comment? Then we'll call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Pavley?
Brief comment, and I apologize for coming in late, and obviously I've read newspapers a lot on this issue the last few months. So I assume there's going to be comprehensive discussion following through on this. We're at the end of a 2-year bill deadline and things. That'll be examining completely the financial ability on this and all options perhaps on the table. So I look forward to a really sort of comprehensive discussion and remain concerned about this project moving forward. It was a voter-approved initiative, and that makes it more difficult to make changes.
I think we're, and I've made comments to that effect, that we are in the process of setting up more hearings right now. Senator Lowenthal is the chair of the Select Committee, myself, and Senator Simitian as the chair of the Fiscal Committee. It's our intention, as we said.
Well, you three, who I know have all voiced in different ways concerns throughout this process, not only in the governance structure, but the financial stability of the project. I look forward to those hearings.
No,
We'll be able to pay close enough attention to make sure that this is a project that the state of California would benefit from.
Exactly.
I totally agree too. Let's keep the discussion going. I mean, we're all about jobs here, so let's find the way that's going to get the most jobs. It does matter what each job costs. So let's be efficient about that and have a whole different attitude on how we're going to have job creation in California. So thank you.
I think it's fair to say that we're all, in a bipartisan way, fully engaged in the issue, and it's going to be a very intense few weeks that we can't put any of this discussion off any longer. It's going to be right up there with the budget as amongst the most important issues in this building in the next month. And we will be at a decision. If anybody in the authority or anyone thinks that the legislature is ready to just rubber stamp what they have brought to us, I think they're wildly optimistic in the least. So with that, we've got it before us. I ask the Secretary to call a roll, please. The motion is to do pass with amendments.
And we refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Senators Desaulniers?
No.
Desaulniers, no. Gaines?
Aye.
Gaines, aye. Harmon?
Aye.
Harmon, aye. Huff? Kehoe?
No.
Kehoe, no. Lowenthal?
No.
Lowenthal, no. Pavley? Pavley, no. Rubio? Simitian? Simitian, no. You've got 2 to
The vote right now is 2 aye votes, 5 no votes. We'll keep it open for the absent members.
Thank you.